I stopped in a couple of churches on the way down south, and I hit one that was pretty interesting. There was a gentleman there. He said he was a deacon, and he went back to Saint Benedict, and it's like the 13th century or the year 1300. A long time ago. He said Benedict used to hear from the Lord a lot, but it wasn't verbal. It was just through the written word. Read the book. He said there were 5 steps. You read it, reflect on it, respond with the little group that reads the same piece of literature, and then you have to like meditate on it, and then you get into some action and do something about it. So I did read a part 3 times to myself, and then we read it out loud, and we reflected on it, and we read it again another couple of times. And I didn't see anything jumping out at me. He said that's how it works, that you don't read for understanding, like we're taught to read, but the words that jump out at you would be from the Holy Spirit, and that would tell you something. Even though I read the same passage 3 or 4 times. So I felt like I was the only one in the room that didn't get anything out of it. Everybody else seemed to be moved and heard things.
Seemed to what?
They heard things, the Lord speaking to them through the literature.
Okay. Like the Holy Spirit,
yeah.
Like the deacon said.
And why didn't that happen to me? I can see maybe he won't talk to me like I thought he did that one time, verbally. He
Well,
didn't talk to me in the reading either.
It only means that you are more advanced than the others. Okay.
Explain that.
That would be nice to feel that way, but I don't know. The majority usually wins.
You see, for instance, when Jesus was telling to Mary of Magdalene, "Don't cling to me," he went to his apostles and allowed them to cling to him. Isn't it? You see, but Mary of Magdalene, he says, "Don't hold on to me, don't cling to me. For I am going to my Father, your Father, my God, your God." Meaning, he is going to be that, he is going to become that unmanifested. Well, see, it's a kind of a concept. It's much better described in Hinduism than in Christianity. But it is there in Christianity also. So in other words, I'm referring to something that happened with Jesus, but I'm going to bring in Hindu scriptures to explain to you what it is.
In a world where compassion knows no bounds, we strive to spread love and light to every corner of the globe. But to truly make a difference, we need your support. We're not asking for your donations today. Instead, we invite you to join our community. Simply hit that subscribe button, click the like, and ring the bell to stay connected. Every interaction counts. Every subscription, every like, every comment helps us spread hope. Together, we can make a difference. Subscribe now and be a part of something greater.
You see, Hindu scriptures goes into a concept called manifest and unmanifest. And self-realization, it not only is about both of them, but it is also about transcending one and entering into the other. When I say it is both of them, that means we are humanity, we have body, we are matter, and we are connected by way of other material attachments. We are wired in certain way that we get influenced by matter. Okay, that's really how we are. So that awareness of being a matter and being action-oriented is one thing. And there is also the awareness of you being the unmanifest, or a person of inaction. So the action, inaction, manifest, unmanifest, it's very relevant in spirituality. So there can only be action when there is a manifest. When you are in the realm of unmanifest, then there is inaction. Okay, I'll explain that to you more. All right. See, so we as human beings, we are created to perform action. Okay, but we attain the supreme realization by way of inaction. You see, in other words, by way of meditation. In meditation, it's inaction. You see, by way of observing the inaction. That's how we attain the inaction itself, meaning the unmanifest itself. We attain that by way of entering into the awareness of inaction. I know it's very complicated. Feel free to ask me questions, okay? Because it really is complicated, and I understand that, okay? So here the concept is, you see, Mary of Magdalene, Jesus meets her right after the resurrection. And then he says, don't cling to me. Because clinging is an action. See that? Yeah. It's an action towards a material element, a material attachment. That's what clinging is. Isn't it? So Jesus says, don't do that. And then he goes on to explain, I am going to become the unmanifest myself. Meaning, I'm going to your Father, my Father. I'm going to your God, my God. God himself is unmanifest, isn't he? See, so Jesus is explaining to her, I am becoming the unmanifest myself. Cling to that. Develop that attachment to the unmanifested being. In other words, your desire has to transcend from your attachments to material elements, and you have to go into the attachment to the unmanifest. See, that's what Jesus was telling Mary of Magdalene. The reason why is clearly she was much more advanced in spirituality than his apostles.
Wow, see, I didn't hear that.
Okay. See, that's the reason why even in the Gospels and in the Gnostic Gospels, even the other apostles are declaring Mary of Magdalene as the apostle of apostles. They go to tell her, to explain to us what Jesus told you. Explain to us. In other words, they go to her for clarifications and explanations. Okay? And Peter was quite forthright about it. When you read about the Gnostic scriptures, you see a whole different relationship with Mary Magdalene. But the patriarchal society we inherited from then on, it just couldn't accept Mary of Magdalene as somebody who has already been actualized or who has already been advanced in spirituality. We just could not.
And the apostles weren't even there, and they lived with them.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really what it means, because Jesus is very clearly giving her sort of a depth to spirituality, unlike he did that with the other apostles. Action is necessary, but inaction is also necessary. It is in the inaction you really see the abstract universe there is.
So when do you act? Because he even says that in other parts of the Bible, like faith without works is dead. So you have to do something. So same thing there. Once you leave and go to this other higher realm, when do you act?
Well, you see, when you go to, that's an interesting question. You see, we are human beings, and we are meant to act. But how do we act is the question. You see, because spirituality requires detachment from all of the material entanglements. Isn't it? So the question is us removing ourselves from the material attachment. Still, those attachments are not fading away from us. The attachments are still there. See, so we move away from there and look at our attachments in a more objective way and deal with it objectively instead of being entangled in it. Okay, let me explain to you a little better than that. All right. I mean, here is a man who is, you love tools, you love repairs, you love fixing things. Yeah, there is one way of looking at your tools. They are my tools. But are you the tools? You are not. See, you need to take care of your tools. You need to oil them, you need to sharpen them, you need to keep them in good condition, and then you use them when you have to use them. See, it's the same thing with our attachments. You see, I mean, the tools, are they going to affect you emotionally? They're not. You are happy with them, yes.
It makes the job easier.
Makes the job easier, and you are happy with them, and you have certain attachment to it, but they are still tools. You see, so
there's nothing wrong with having things, just don't get attached to it.
Just don't get attached to it. Use them as they are your tools. That includes even the relationships. That includes even your education. That includes even your intelligence. So nothing possesses you. All of these entanglements are, of course it's yours, but it is kept as a tool. You go there, take it, use it, put it right back. Keep them in great condition. Do you see that? Keep them in great condition. They are not going away from you. They are still going to be there for you. See, the same thing with attachment, same thing with all of these. The only thing is, when we see that it is emotionally affecting us, then we know we have an attachment. See, okay, let me take this a little further. Okay, I'm going to go a little advanced in my discussion if you don't mind. Okay. In the unmanifest, do you think there is no attachments?
I think that's what we're striving for.
Well,
to get there, so I'm not attached.
All right, let me take it a little further. I need some help to explain this to you. So let me meditate a little bit. All right. When you are going into the realm of the unmanifest, what you observe is sparks flying around. See, all right, let me take into sort of a more of a scientific way, okay? See, in the theory of quantum fluids, for instance, matters don't create matters. The waves, the quantum fluids creates matters. So the whole idea about, in the classical physics that we learned, the particles are moving around and they are creating other particles, it's a defunct theory. Modern theory is the quantum fluid, which is a conscious substance, that's encapsulating each particle. That is the one that is moving the particles around. That is the one that is making the particles converge. That is the element that is creating particles. Do you understand that? So these fluids, how do they move around? See, these fluids, by the way, they are unmanifest. Particles are manifest. You see the difference? Quantum fluids, they are unmanifest. But particles manifest. See, so the unmanifestation is still making the particles move around. But how are they doing it? They are doing it with, sending and receiving sparks between the unmanifest. Isn't it? So the manifest moves according to the sparks. Am I right? So, when you are observing the unmanifest, meaning when you are meditating, and when you are observing something, what you are observing is the vibrations and the sparks that are making all these things happen. So in other words, you see emotions, how the emotions connect, how the vibrations connect. That's what you are observing. But the action has to come down to synthesize how the particles are connecting. Even with emotions, even with, what you observed in through vibrations, all of that, unless you translate this into something that you can implement, something that you can make a case of, or something that you can synthesize and make a solid case of, you understand that that part requires action. So what you are observing in the unmanifest, it is absolute stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm. Absolute stillness, you are observing the unmanifest. That's all you are doing. There is no mind interpretations. There is nothing else is going on. Total inaction. As far as your body and your being and everything is concerned, everything is quietened in the meditation. You're only observing. And then your body comes awake. Then the action begins. And during this action, you are synthesizing what you observed. You see, and that synthesis itself is an action. Okay? Action is not something what you do with your hands and your feet, your body. Your mind can get engaged in the action also. See, mind itself is an unmanifest. Your intelligence itself is an unmanifest. You see, so you are actually engaging the unmanifest component of yourself in order to synthesize what you observed. Because manifest cannot synthesize what you observed. Only unmanifest can. So that is the reason why you are given the capacity of mindfulness, you are given the capacity of intelligence. Both these elements are unmanifest. You see the difference?
Okay. I'm just amazed that you can actually do something in an unmanifested state.
Yes, you can. You can observe and you can synthesize. But the only thing is, this is one level of observation, meaning one level of inaction, then comes another level of inaction, then comes the bodily action itself, implementation. So observation takes place in action and inaction. So you purely observe, that is inaction, and then you synthesize, that is action. Then you translate the synthesis into action, that is another action. You see, so for human beings, we are the only creatures in the universe who have the wiring to become self-realized. And this self-realization requires action and inaction. And the progression of how inaction translates into action. Only human beings can do that. See?
I believe that, because this is going to be difficult.
Yeah, the other elements cannot do that. But we can. But unfortunately, we are trying to duplicate the other elements and we are living a limited life. We are not living an unlimited life.
Anthony, could you give us a real life example of, maybe, if you don't mind, from your own experience, of when you have done these, when you have gone through these steps?
All right. I'm going to give you an example as recently as yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, I am reading Bhagavad Gita. Okay. There is the book. All right.
Right there.
And I'm reading it. And this is the book that clearly describes both unmanifest, manifest, action, inaction. This is a book that's it's a handbook of how do we deal in a materially entangled universe where we live in, where action and inaction, where manifest and unmanifest, they all coexist. Okay? And here I am. I was reading the book, and not once, not twice, many times I come across phrases in Bhagavad Gita, and as if it was specifically written for me. It kind of moves me, it excites me, I feel the vibration, I do all of those things, okay? And, the whole experience of it and the whole understanding of it, meaning from unmanifest to manifest and all of that. I'm going through all of that, you see. Then I'm going back to read it again because I was so moved by that. Guess what? It was not there.
Wow.
That experience was not there. None of those things were there. Even those phrases I kept reading again and again and again and again, I did not get any of that experience. I marked it with a marker and everything. All of that is there, and I took notes, but that experience was not there. You see? And this is really how you also need to read our scriptures, which is the Bible. You see, you just read between the manifest and the unmanifest. What is the unmanifest here? What is the manifest here? Allow the unmanifest to teach you what the manifest is. See, that is how we need to read scriptures. That is what the deacon was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saint Benedict did. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the saints did that. A lot of the saints did that. St. John of the Cross was famous for that.
So how do you suggest getting in that state before you even pick the book up to read then? I should probably already be in that unmanifested state.
Well, you see, somebody who has been meditating for a long time on the unmanifest, I even get into it without the awareness of it.
Or even now, you take those few short minutes to take deeper.
Yeah, I just get into it without even the awareness of it. The only thing is when I'm reading it, I don't know whether I'm in the awareness or whether I'm not in the awareness. Whether I'm in the manifest stage or unmanifest stage. That's something I don't. I'm reading because I'm reading. That's it. But the experience of it comes in the unmanifest state, when I allow the unmanifest to reveal to me what is manifest.
Because I've been practicing some of those meditation steps and then get there. But when I'm in that step, forget about reading anything. I thought maybe I should read the book and put it on a tape. And then when I'm in that state, I could play the tape because I feel my awareness is really heightened. But don't expect me to actually physically do something or to read.
Yeah, well, because when you are doing that, you are not asking the unmanifest to reveal itself to you.
No, I didn't bring that up at all.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, when he says, ask the Holy Spirit, that's what he is saying. But he is saying it in a very, ordered way of doing it. What I'm describing is not an ordered way. what I'm describing right now is you are already in that realm. When you are in that realm, there is no order, there is no structure, there is nothing linking one to the other. You see, this is nothing, absolutely nothing. It's an infinite reality. Okay, and it's an infinite reality. Not only it is an infinite reality, it is an infinite reality of nothingness, absolute nothingness, where matter doesn't even exist.
So what are you going to do with the book?
Well, because you are reading it, when I'm reading it, I'm reading it in a material order. Okay, that is how I'm reading. Okay, but I'm closing it, and then I am going into the realm of only observation and allowing the unmanifest to talk to me.
So you're going to do both?
I do both.
You talked about you need both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Action is reading.
Right.
Then the inaction is closing it. Close your eyes, go into meditation. Ask the inaction to teach you. Even if you don't ask the inaction to teach you, the inaction is going to teach you nevertheless. So all you need to do is just close your eyes and listen and observe.
Boy, that listening. The listening is so important.
Yeah. See, listening is an action. Okay, you need to transcend even listening. Just observe. Just be in the moment. Just be in the moment that you and the unmanifest are one and the same. Because mind you, unmanifest will manifest to you through your unmanifested mind, through your unmanifested intelligence, if you are unattached to your mind and your intelligence. So move away and then just observe the unmanifest.
So observation is the key.
Observation is the only key. Just observe. Let the unmanifest communicate with your unmanifest. That will happen. Don't worry about it. That will happen. And then in action, you will realize what happened. So, it takes place in three stages. First, pure observation, no action whatsoever. The second is that unmanifest communicating to your own unmanifest. Even at that time, pure observation. But you are going to see exactly how things are moving around emotionally, connecting, how sparks are flying. Again, it's observation. Okay? But that observation requires a little bit of action. Then you are in full action, where the whole unmanifest and your unmanifested mind swinging into synthesizing what you observed. Then you know the answer. Okay? So if that same experience is going to repeat itself, that's the will of God. Don't worry about it. When I went back to read all those things, with all these markers and everything in it, I didn't see anything the first time.
You didn't see anything wrong?
I did not experience anything I experienced the first time I read it.
So what do you do with that knowledge?
I have it. It's given to me, that's it. Then God will find a reason to use it, when He needs it. I don't need to be obsessed to it.
Reading it too.
Yeah, I don't need to be obsessed to that. In other words, I don't need to develop an attachment to it. It is in my toolbox. It just goes right there. That's it. Okay, I'm not attached to it.
Well, I better start with less twos in my box then. I'm going to just do one line at a time. That's it, one sentence.
Yeah.
If I can get to that and meditate on that one sentence and see if...
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I did try to read the whole paragraph is even too much.
See, I mean...
And that's different than what the deacon said. The deacon said just go through it.
That's what he said 5 times or something. We did it 3 times alone.
Yeah. Those are very action-oriented, matter-oriented way of getting into spirituality. See, spirituality is actually transcending all of that. You see, it's transcending action. Transcending and go into the inaction. See, without the inaction, there is no spirituality. Okay? It requires both. See, it requires the awareness of the manifest. So where you can apply them, you can become very action-oriented with the manifest. But it also requires the unmanifest.
What is the action that you may experience from the book?
What is the action? Lots of information will come my way. Sometimes it would specify some of the things that I have to do, in order to advance in spirituality. Some of it maybe it's something that I need to put aside because people are going to ask me a question down the line. I don't know what it is. See, that is the reason why I was able to discern. I was not able to discern anything when I went back to read it. The message was given to me already. That is my message. As far as what I'm supposed to tell others about it, keep it in the toolbox. You don't need to go there. It's a different way the will of God plays out in our lives. That's what happens when we allow unmanifest to manifest in us. You see that? It is a complicated subject, but it is something that you need to really give it a lot of thought. In other words, I'm asking you to contemplate, meditate, and you are going to have questions about it. Come back and ask me. Or call me and ask me, or whatever you want to do. It really doesn't matter to me.
I'm just going to send that thought to you, and you'll know, and you can send it back. So why don't you rearrange it and mix it all together to do the action, and then send it to me?
That could happen also. See, that it's not strange. So a lot of people actually do it that way, especially spiritual masters. Disciples don't ask them questions all the time, but they communicate with them all the time. And the communication is taking place in the unmanifest, not in the manifest. You see, spiritual masters are people who are totally in that unmanifest, state, but they are also in the manifest state with their actions. And their actions are usually expression of very, very strong emotions. Very strong emotions.
Give an example of that.
Mother Teresa, for instance. Yeah. Charity is an incredible emotion that was, that was coming out of her.